Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Uh, Gosh, I don't know where to start. I actually wanted to talk about a few issues just surrounding Black Americans. I feel like recently in the news and a lot of podcasts are addressing Black Americans when it comes to violent crimes, when it comes to entitlements, when it comes to uh, many obscure philosophies on how to operate in the world and stuff like that. So I kind of want to address a few of those things. Right now I'm in Pasadena, California. It's the morning. It's barely 8 a.m. So I don't know if I'm going to post this on what platform or maybe all the platforms I have, or I may not. I may delete it. I don't know. Um, so one of the things I will say is that for me, I had my father up to the age of 13, and he passed away because he was battling diabetes. And although he was not a perfect man, he and my mother had their issues like any couple. He never married my mother, and on his deathbed, he actually regretted not marrying her. But he was in my life up until the age of 13, as I said, and my entire life up to that point, he was always around. He didn't live with me, but he was always a phone call away. He lived in Inglewood. I was somewhere in LA, so yeah, both LA County. So anytime I called, he came. And he didn't miss any special events. And even for my other siblings that my mother adopted and other relatives and nephews, he would always bring gifts for them too. Now, he may give me the nice gift, but he will always, you know, give them something as well. So he was showing me how a man was to operate. But so I'm sharing that because a lot of the issues within the Black community and any community, but the number one destroyer of the family has always been father absence. You have a man who shows up, he wants to have fun with a woman, and then he abandons his family, and that is a destroyer. For this is why a lot of young people go into gangs, or they start going into being vulnerable and going into a lot of things they shouldn't. And I say that because I have a lot of family members that their fathers were not present. Even though I lost mine at 13, he gave me a foundation and modeled a lot of amazing things that changed the entire course of how I would live my life. For example, my father never called a woman outside of her name. So I don't do that. I've never have. I don't. I've had women do me dirty, do some very terrible things, but I could never call them outside of their name. He also drove the church bus to pick up the elderly who couldn't walk or drive to church when he was alive. I seen that. So again, he was demonstrating to me how a man is supposed to operate. You serve others, before yourself. I think Jesus says, the Son of Man didn't come to this world to be served, but to serve and give his life up for the ransom of many. And so I learned very early that a man is to serve. A man is to implement it, sharing and serving his time, his money, his resources. That's what we do. Not kill yourself to help people, but to assist. But I've learned that a lot of my relatives, whether they were adopted or maybe it could be all sorts of relatives, male, female, their fathers were not present. Even if the father was alive, he just abandoned, he left. And so that, caused them to, be promiscuous, maybe, always dealing with the law, the courts and stuff like that. And that did not help. So they became people who modeled those same behaviors. There's also a lot of entitlements that, unfortunately, a lot of people within, I'm going to say, the Black community has inherited. And, there's this idea that everyone sort of owes me something. And I think it has a lot to do with just the community perpetuating this endless cycle of destruction. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. There are many times I've gone to churches that were predominantly Black, and the pastor was saying, how, Black Americans, we need to take care of ourselves, that we're the chosen ones, that the white man and the Asian man and the government, they're not looking out for us. So we got to look out for ourselves. And, this is at a church. So imagine, you have friends and family, you have family members, your neighborhood, you have the church telling you all this stuff. So you naturally develop this disdain and this animosity towards other communities. Now the reason why, again, this has not affected me is because I had a mother that told me the truth. We're all from God. We all come from one place. So she didn't know all the theological terms and all this other stuff, but she knew enough to provide a foundation that helped me grow. And of course, God used her, to raise me in a way where and other people as well. My older sister was a big part of that. I consider her a second mother. Um, I, uh, I have a lot of amazing aunts. All of them imperfect in their own way. I'm imperfect, but they all implemented different little insights to give me an understanding of the world and things like that. They're still doing that. But of course, it's by the grace of God for saving me that's what really has changed the direction of my life. So when I have a discussion with anybody about Black Americans and the community and stuff like that, there's a lot to say. I'm trying to debate how long I want this video to be, and I don't know who would be interested in this anyway. Um, but even from a political standpoint, there are some people that will say, "Hey, James, why are you conservative? Why are you voting Republican?" And uh, it's because I read. I read. I do not want to associate myself with the Democratic Party that founded the KKK. I don't want to be associated with people like Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president who, although he signed the uh, Civil Rights Act, and everyone kind of praises him for that. He was a very open, transparent racist. He used the N word all the time. And he was the one who said, I'll have these N words, because I don't use that word, but he says, I'll have these N words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. So he hated Black Americans, but he and many other Democrats founded all these different programs that actually hindered the Black community. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but prior to the 60s, the Black community was doing perfectly fine. And if we would have kept on going and not having these pitfalls of Lyndon Baines Johnson and other Democratic executive orders and policies that really harmed the Black community, like any other community, we would be doing fine as well. We wouldn't be even thinking about no reparations and all that stuff, which I don't support at all. I've never been a slave. I have a nice 75-inch TV at home. I'm comfortable. I have my dream car, Dodge Challenger. I don't need that. I work, so I don't need that. But yeah, it's just yeah. I realize that a lot of the people in my community, which I love so much, I love people, I love human beings. We're all made in the image of God, and that's my foundation. It's from a biblical perspective. I love people, but I realize that even members of my own family, I war with them, not only politically, but about morality and ethics and justice, because they don't have a biblical worldview on the world, and I have, it's sad, but you see these amazing people that you grew up or you helped raise and you love very dearly, and you realize they are picking up all those traits that is not going to help them as a Black American or just an American in general in this world. They're feeling entitled. They're dealing with the law. They're pulling out knives and bats to deal with people when they can just call the police. And they don't seem to understand they're putting themselves at a disadvantage. I don't want to have any crazy situations of having to, I don't know, deal with the law. I don't want any drunk stories where I ruin people's lives. I'm making decisions that's going to affect me for the rest of my life. I don't want to link up with anybody romantically who's going to hurt me or hurt my I don't know, legacy if we have children. I don't want to link up with anybody like that. And so, by the grace of God, He's been guiding me. Uh, not, I'm not a perfect person by any means. So, but I don't believe personally. I don't believe America is racist. I'll give you just a small example. I don't know if this is significant enough for some of you, but yesterday I was working in the city of Pasadena, like I am now, but I was in another location, and I finished my classes for the day that morning, and a gentleman, white Caucasian gentleman, I don't believe in the division, but I have to use that language to help some of you understand. But he's running an organization. I think he's in the early stages. He's already being very productive, but he's seen how amazing, I was, and this is his words, he's seen my enthusiasm, he's seen my energy level, and he immediately, talked to me for like 20 minutes, really just selling me the opportunity to work for him and be a part of what he's doing. So I may consider actually adding that, to my repertoire, but my point is, he didn't say, oh, hey, I need that Black guy. He looked at my work performance, and that's what guided him to want to, really connect with me. And I get a lot of that all the time here in Los Angeles. So I'm saying all of that because um, I work with different clients and families of different cultures. Cultures, um, whether they're white Caucasian, some Black Americans, some Ethiopian, some Asian in some way. And people of different tax background, brackets and things like that. And everyone's judging me based on the contents of my character, not the color of my skin. And I think we have a lot of issues with some Black Americans that they think that that's not happening. But the way that you speak, the way you articulate your words, like people are judging you, regardless of who you are and your color of your skin. They're going to judge you based on even if you're dressed dirty and you smell nasty. Like you can be a handsome, tall, white guy with blue, green eyes, whatever. But yeah, if you're talking bad about people and you're, tattered and dirty and nasty and smelly, yeah, people are not gonna. That's not gonna be attractive to people. So the way you present yourself is just very important. But I'm not into the entitlement ideology, so I'm not really into that. But this is why I have issues with many of the Black community as well. I don't feel entitled. I want to be just an American living my life. By the grace of God, I have the beautiful amenities to purchase the things that I want. Certain motorcycles that I might want to look into, or I may want to travel and all this stuff and get my passport and all that. I have the luxury of doing all that. And I'm not oppressed. I'm not a slave. I can do anything any other person can do in this country. And so, but yeah, I just wanted to share this because I feel like it's something that needs to be said. And maybe I'll post it on my YouTube. I don't know. But God bless you guys. I hope this was helpful in some way. Like I said, even people who have a Christian conservative position in the Black community, even we are challenged with some within the community as well. So it's not really about race. It's almost about a culture thing. It's almost like different philosophies that people live by, and the lens that you use, that's going to dictate how you're going to interpret the world. So that's why it's really important to absorb things that are going to be conducive to your life. That's going to help you. I try to read my Bible every day, try to implement God's word. So this is why I speak the way that I speak. I want to speak like a Christian. That's my primary identity is in Christ, not based on skin tone or how old I am or how much money I have in the bank or whatever. My identity first is in Jesus Christ. But I hope this was helpful. God bless you guys. Take care. If you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments. Peace.